We welcome you again to another edition of our Conversations with University of Texas Athletic Department members, student athletes, and coaches here on TexasSports.com. My name is Craig Way. Glad to have you with us and very pleased to be joined by Dave O'Neill, of course, the four-time National Coach of the Year, Rowing Coach of the Year, and the coach of the Texas Longhorn rowing team. Dave, I'll start just like I've done with everybody else and ask how you are managing and how your rowers are doing and your family and everybody during this very unusual time that we're all
well, thanks for having me. It's certainly an honor to be here, and it's been a funny time. I mean, it's my first spring since 1987 without me rowing, and it's kind of like watching around like, it's kind of the weather's kind of nice in the spring. Sometimes we don't always notice, but my family's doing fine. I've got 3 kids. 4, 7, and our oldest boy, he just turned 10 last week, so we had to figure out how to do a birthday party without his friends around. And but everyone is good, and we homeschool anyways, so our kids are just clicking right along. So without the other activities that they do, they've actually gotten pretty far ahead academically the last 5 weeks now, and 5 or 6 weeks. And the team, they're doing pretty well. I mean, they're scattered all over the world. We have a regular team Zoom meeting every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it's the kid in Australia. She wakes up at 6 a.m. to get to log on to that. And, and if we had to find the right time, so the kids in Europe it wasn't too late for them. And the ones in Australia didn't have to get up too early. So we've been trying to keep a sense of community within the group and keep them updated on what's going on. We have a little bit of a team building activity that we do each time. So we're doing okay. We're doing okay.
It's interesting you bring that up about having a rower in Australia. In visiting with Ryan Murphy, for folks who don't know, the women's golf coach at UT, we were talking about student athletes in different time zones. And it's interesting enough, even in normal times when you're communicating with them, I would imagine in trying to set up a Zoom chat with your rowers when they're scattered around the globe, that makes it even more challenging, doesn't it?
Yeah, the Zoom chat, but we're accommodating for that. But what's really hard for her is the classes, and I guess, some professors were cool, were understanding about it, and some other professors like, no, you need to be here at this time. So that's been an added challenge, and we're understanding with our team in those circumstances. But of course, that they need to make the most of the academics at this time. So that's the biggest challenge for them, I think.
Well, that's something I guess that a lot of folks, the regular fans, might not understand or might not fully grasp is the challenge of your student athletes, the student part of it. Obviously, we've talked at length, and we'll visit some more about this, about conditioning and nutrition and staying in shape and all those kinds of things when they're doing shelter in place. But the academic piece of it, I have a 20-year-old son who's having to finish his semester online, and I know it's a challenge for him. I would imagine what they're going through. What's the kind of feedback you get from your rowers as to what they're dealing with academically?
Yeah, initially they're like, okay, this, professor is trying to figure out the online, and there's some glitches that first week, and now we talk about it every time we get together. It was like, hey, how class is going, and the general consensus, or almost, I'd say it's almost unanimous, that they would rather be in class together in person. That they're not, they really don't like the online learning. I think that the time at first they kind of they enjoyed, maybe like they might have had some flexibility with things, but they think that I think it's been pretty unanimous that they would rather be in class, in person, with the professor, with other students around, and without any other distractions that they might have in their apartment or their house. They're sitting there trying to watch class, and their dog comes running along, and there's something else going on. It's more easy to be distracted with things.
You're part of a club, so to speak, and it's a pretty exclusive club, and that is a club that includes coaches of teams in the spring who figured to be legitimate national championship contenders. And that includes some of the coaches in visiting, as I mentioned, with Coach Murphy, Coach White from the softball team. We were talking about that, that when you have those kinds of accolades and going into the season ranked third in the nation, I guess I'm asking how frustrating it is, but by the same token, how you process all of that understanding that all of that was out there going into the season, and then of course it all has to be shut down.
Yeah, it was tough because things were going well. The last few years we went from fourth to third to second, so 4-3-2-1, or it would turn into 4-3-2 and done, you know. And so that was really frustrating. It was we were really, and especially for rowing, the majority of our team didn't do any competitions all year long, and we train. For rowing, it's a hard sport. There's a lot of training that's involved, and they trained all year long. From the first day of classes in August, and then with no outside competitions for the majority of them. And so that kick in the head was pretty frustrating. But the kids understood. We talk about being the best Texas teammates you can be, and being a Texas teammate means about making you the better person. It's all about this whole thing about being a student athlete. The lessons that we learn in our sport prepares us to be better people, better citizens of the world. And the message that we delivered right away was, okay, well, we have to be citizens of the world here. We need to play our part with this virus, and making sure it doesn't spread, and do our part, and we are prepared for what's going ahead. And and if this was going to be the toughest day that they ever encounter, this biggest disappointment, like, they're going to live a pretty good life if this is the biggest disappointment. So and hopefully, and it looks like quite a few of the seniors will be coming back, so they will have that opportunity. And I've been very grateful to the Texas Athletics administration for making that work and being very accommodating. I know that's not the case at some athletic departments out there. And so that's been an interesting ride along the way. It's like, okay, that it's getting ripped away, and now it's like, okay, let's start focusing. We always talk about the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And the main thing now is, okay, late May 2021. That's what we're looking towards, building up towards now. So, and one of the big lessons you learn in rowing is delayed gratification. You got to prepare, and what we do now matters for what's in the future. And it was going to be May 2020. Now it's May 2021.
You brought up seniors, and we quite often think of seniors as being some of your key individuals in any sport. And I remember visiting with Coach White about Miranda Ellis with the softball team and what he was dealing with that. And even those who would be rising into their junior or senior, like Caitlin Papp for women's golf or whatever, and you'll have to correct me if I mispronounce her name, but with Melita you had a senior in the returning Big 12 rower of the year as well. Is that something you've seen as well, as something in terms of a senior who was able to process and understand that another opportunity would be coming down the road?
Yeah, like with Mitsa and her best friend Liliana Josic. I mean, the two kids from Serbia, and they had been in our first eight. First eight that came in fourth in 2017, then came in third in 2018, and then came in second in 2019, and they were together, and they're really good friends. And now it's over, and they're trying. And we've had long conversations about them coming back next year and the possibility for them. It gets a little bit trickier for international students with their F1 visa, and for them for grad school, and they've already spent so much time away from family and home. So that's so we're not fully sure what they're going to be doing for next year. And especially that's particularly difficult because I've worked with them with the Serbian national team too. So we've become very close over the years. So so the conversations I've had with them, like, yeah, I've cherished the times that we've had, and and hopefully we'll have a chance to work together in the rowing capacity, as Texas Longhorns again. But if not, it was great, So so we're not sure what's in store for them.
You and I had a conversation a couple of years ago when you were a guest on our show and on the radio show, and I remember being fascinated by learning something about how you went about recruiting with regard to rowing, being completely different from any other sport in that maybe this is oversimplifying it a bit, but I remember it sinking into me that you went out to recruit. You didn't really specifically go out to recruit rowers per se. You were recruiting outstanding athletes who could become outstanding rowers. In this day and age, especially as you've gotten this program on the cusp of really being a national championship program and contending for it year in, year out, is that still philosophy, or has it altered a little bit in how you go about recruiting?
Yeah, good question. The majority of rowers, the majority of kids that we recruit do have rowing experience, that are rowing in high school or junior programs. And, you know, we're recruiting the best kids from the best clubs in the country and the best, you know, and even like the best rowing, you know, it has turned into like, okay, are you the best kid in your club? And even in even many respects now, like, are you the best kid in your country? You know, so as we've gotten better, we've gotten the level of recruits have gotten better and better. But with that, we do every year, there's 1 or 2 kids that we identify that has no rowing experience, is a really good athlete in another sport, and might be getting recruited in that other sport, but not at a school like Texas. You know, a kid that, like, there's a kid coming to our team next year, a really good volleyball player. And I talked to Jarrett about her, and they're like, oh yeah, she is for this really good club in Atlanta, but she's not, and she was getting recruited for like Division III, Division II schools. But it's like, you know what, I think I'd really like to go to Texas. And, you know, she got turned on to rowing somehow and went to a rowing camp somewhere. And it's like, you know what, I want to do this. I'm like, yeah, so we're going to take a chance. So, so we're willing to take a chance on some really kids that have performed well in sports, in other sports, and some other, in other areas, that meet the right body type, that are, you know, because certainly junior rowing in Texas, you know, with there's 30 million people here in Texas. You know, there's a few very good junior clubs, but a lot of times people don't even know about rowing. So if there's some kids and some really, you know, if they're tall, strong, hard workers, and good kids in other sports, yeah, like, we'll love to talk and see what the next steps could be.
Toward that end, what is the biggest adjustment someone who has not done a great deal of rowing, or maybe not at all has done in the past, that really strikes your attention as someone who could really be good at it? What's the biggest adjustment they have to make once you get them into the program?
I think the amount of work that's involved, you know, and I think it's different than a game sport. Like a lot of kids play volleyball, you know, and they'll do something for 8-12 seconds and like, okay, then points over and high fives. And in rowing, it's long, sustained pain, long, sustained effort for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes at a time. So that monotony, but also that level of work, that's the biggest adjustment. So some people are like, this is not necessarily the sport for me. So sometimes it's not necessarily the best athlete, but the hardest worker, you know, because rowers are, yeah, there's a lot of pain involved in it. You know, like
Well,
there's a lot of lactic acid involved in being a successful rower.
so it would then beg the question, during this whole shelter in place and quarantine, how do you replicate that? How do they replicate the conditioning it takes to do those long, hard, painful stretches?
Yeah.
They're probably glad they don't have to do it, but how do they replicate that?
It's funny. That's been actually a conversation I had with a senior who will be training next year. And she's like, oh, but I don't know if at the fall, like, oh, like all the work again, we have to put it in the fall, you know, and like, yeah, that's part of the struggle. So to get the training up to a certain point, we do a lot of things at below maximal effort, you know, at the just basic. The message that I've been sending to the kids right now, it's any work that you need, any workouts that you should be doing right now. It's basically to break up your day for mental health, for just basic staying fit, you know, like we're not, and that'd be my message, whether you are a junior rower, a collegiate rower, or even, you know, my discussions with some elite rowers, just stay fit, you know, stay mentally engaged. So then when we get back to the real training, you're ready to go, you know, because with everything, there's ups and downs, you know, if someone was training really hard all summer, you know, this spring, super hard all summer, she'll show up in August. You know, hopefully we get back together again in August, and she's going to be burnt out, you know. So I'd rather just, hey guys, just the message has been from just workouts for mental health, you know, basically staying fit, and you don't have to be doing anything really, really hard right now. So and I think when I
You know,
said that, I think a lot of kids were like, oh, okay, thank you. Because yes, the training when you're in it, like it's hard. It's really hard. So
toward that end, with regarding and visiting, like with Coach Herman, talking about football and how guys have done cement buckets to simulate some weight training if they didn't have a big weight set in the garage or something like that, or basketball players if there's a hoop nearby or something. But obviously parks being closed and then somewhat being back opened a little bit. Are your athletes even able to get a boat in a body of water anywhere? Is anybody able even to do that?
a few people have asked that, and there's one kid on our team, and she lives in Austin, and she went out, and she owns her own single, and she went out and rode a couple weeks ago, and I think the city was like, hey, shut it down, like you're not supposed to be doing anything. And and that's okay. That's okay if like kids aren't, if they're not able to row right now. Like we can rowing, there is a technical element, but it's mostly a fitness sport. So the message has been like just stay fit, stay healthy, be well, and then once you get back to the real training, let's be ready to go. We're following all the NCAA rules, and we're giving suggestions, and they're not reporting back to us and what they're doing. But what I just see on Instagram, what some kids post, they're going up for runs and they're doing some stuff on the erg, the rowing machine, and they're all the good kids. They're going to be doing what they need to be doing. They're going to be ready when we come back.
Final thing here.
Also, May 2021 is pretty far away.
That's true. True indeed. Final thing here, and it's about the ongoing message. What is your ongoing message to the student athletes in your program about how they deal with this, and down the road, what's on the horizon for being a Texas Longhorn and being a big part of this nationally known rowing program?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things we talked about just the other day, it's like so often we have recent grads come back and visit practice and check in, and they want to come and see everyone. And I'm always like, hey, so what's the message to the current team? And the most common message is make the most of the time that you have. Time flies. I never, they'll be saying I know you freshmen and sophomores, you don't you might hear this oh yeah, whatever. Time flies, and all of a sudden it's going to be gone. So the message that I've been having with the team lately, it's been, we are in a unique position now where, we had something really good. It got ripped away. And I think everyone across the board realized, wow, what we had was really special. That was really good. And they really missed being together and the training together and that sense of community and that common purpose. And I was like, so now we're in a unique situation that most of you, it got taken away. And now you're going to come back and have it again. So let's make sure when we are back, hopefully we are back soon, that we are making the most of that, that we are making the most of, the day-to-day process, and recognizing what we do in November is going to affect what we do in May, and what we do in February and March and April is going to affect May 2021. So that's been one message. And then the other message is everyone do your part so that, don't get infected, don't get anyone else infected, so that, and we have a big team and they're scattered all over the world, certainly scattered all over the country, and everyone do your part so that, and if everyone does their part, we can get back to work sooner. And, because we recognize, we're citizens of the world. And so the better we do that, the sooner we can come back as Texas teammates. So, and everyone, and I say that, and there's a lot of nodding, okay, and everyone recognized, let's do our part, and and let's get it going again. So, May 2021, that's what we're looking forward to now.
Well, it's always a pleasure to visit with you. I appreciate you taking the time, and I hope, obviously, that things continue to progress the way that we all want and hope for them, because we look forward to seeing you having that outstanding team back in the water and contending and competing for a national championship. Dave, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Thank you. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em. That's Dave O'Neill, the Texas rowing coach. We thank you for joining us once again right here on TexasSports.com.